Hey everyone, this is Bremster, and this is session, I think it's 12? 12 of my solo D&D campaign with Romina and Vint. And as we left after session 11, we had Romina and Vint had travelled south east out of the Gnoll camp, where they had found some stuff after defeating quite a tough little Gnoll fight. While they're travelling through the hills, and they travelled up to Kerwin's old cottage, which they had been given directions to, possibly a map. And I'm going to rename this to Kerwin's Cottage, Kirwyn Cottage. And but they'd also they'd lost the track of the trail to here, I think. Um, to do. Um, and a couple of things happened in the previous session. So, and I think they've gotten, but when they arrive, I think they've got an impression something is here. Now, I thought one of the things I thought about is I'd actually had an idea overnight about what I wanted this to be, and one of the important things in D&D is actually storytelling. And because I'd had an idea for an interesting story, I'm actually wanting to run with that. So while there may be some random elements, I'm actually going to tell the story of the idea I had because I think it would be fun for the characters. So not all of this is going to be surprising to me. So part of that is going to involve them arriving late in the day. So they've travelled for a bit through the day. The hills are meandering. So while it's only the hex is only sort of 5 miles wide, they may not have gone far into it, but they've had to meander around the hills or scurry up some areas and down. And they've been taking it easy, and they've been on the lookout for other gnolls. And it's been raining and everything, so it's both everything is slow and dark, and they're all damp, and everything has gone a bit miserably for them. So they've taken it slow, and they've had to push through. And they've arrived sort of at around twilight. And as they arrive at the cottage, which they were told is abandoned, and they can see it in the distance, and it does look very, very run down and everything. So it's clear that this has not been maintained. Like, this is not someone's permanent residence, but they do see signs of someone actually living here. At which point it's like, what's going on? So that's where I'm starting the session. But I do want to go into some admin stuff. So we know the status is they don't have. Romina has used her action surge, and Vint has used his natural recovery. But apart from that, they're okay. They're down a couple of. Romina is down some hit points and has no hit dice left, so she won't be able to use, because I think healing surge requires you to spend hit dice. Looking that up, that's in the Dungeon Master's Guide, which is above me. So I should have looked that up in advance. That was dumb of me, but we're learning together. Um, Healing surge. Is it actually in here? Yes, it is. 266, I'm assuming. Yeah, they can use their healing surges as an action, but she's got none, so that's actually not going to help her much. I'm going to put that at the bottom of the stat because although I'm not likely to use monster manuals, I pay for an online service that has them. I know there's been a lot of cancelled D&D at the moment, and I'm looking at doing that, but I'm finding it incredibly useful for recording, and I probably am going to cancel my D&D Beyond subscription, so that's going to go on. I'm looking at alternatives, but yeah, I'm probably actually doing that this weekend. So yes, I please don't protest. Yeah. Anyway, so um, I'm also looking at the Roll20 stuff, and a lot of the stuff I'm using now in Roll20, and I've been learning how to use that. So anyway, so what I'm doing here is I am sorry, what was I doing? Oh, yeah. So one of the things I was looking at is item that Vint got. Now, this is a concept, so the next couple of minutes are going to be talking about game concepts, where it would basically, I think it was a rod of angling. And I thought about this and I turned it to a staff because I thought staff was more interesting for him. And carrying around a 10-foot pole, it's always been a D&D thing, but it's always never really made sense. And realism, who cares? You know, I've said that before. So if it's important for the story, for the characters to carry around a 10-foot pole in their backpack, they will do that. But one of the concepts that a group of mine has been using since probably the early 90s is the concept of magic items and that are important to a character that start fairly early in the story and then evolve with them. So what I've done here is I've created a bit of a backstory for a magic item that this was, because it was found near this cottage, and this is going to roll through this session and possibly the next one as well. So I basically was sitting down. I write a lot of D&D and I write a lot of fantasy stories that are for role-playing games. And I basically had an idea based off the things that were triggered. And rather than use the random tables or anything, it's like, I'm just going to run with the idea. So this staff has a bit of a history and he doesn't know it yet. So I'll tell you as it comes out. So as R and V arrive at the cottage, it is near dusk. It is still raining because that's a good mood thing. And they can see the cottage is a ramshackle, I can't spell, dwelling that has not been a permanent residence for a long time, but someone is definitely living here now. So, you know, the walls are still like crumbling, like there's gaps in the walls, the roof isn't complete, but there's like a fire inside. So there, you know, someone is definitely sort of taken this up as a temporary shelter, and they can see signs of this actually person having been here for a while. So while it's not been maintained as a new thing, and they haven't put the effort in to fully repair it, like they haven't like patched all the holes or anything, it's something that is more permanent than that. And what I thought would probably happen at this point is Vince is going to go, I'm going to stealth up there. I'm going to use an animal form and I am going to stealth up on the location. And one of the things I just realized is I'm going to pause because I have not prepared all of the books that I use. So just give me a second and I'm going to pause and come back when all the books and everything I use are open. Okay, so that's that done. Now, with he's going to change into an animal form, and he's like, "What I'm going to do is I'm going to change into a wolf, so we won't be able to talk again. But I'm going to go up and I'm going to see if I can figure out who's in there and what's going on. And if a fight starts, I'll be able to join the fight in that form." And like Romina was like, "You can turn into a wolf." It's like, I can turn into any animal that I'm familiar with. After the battle with the hyenas before, I'm pretty certain I can now turn into a hyena as well. I saw the way they moved and the way they fought, and I've actually added hyena to his list of forms. So when I first gave him forms, I'd added forms that he was familiar with. A lot of people just do druids as, oh, I can change into any form because of that. What I'd done is I'd changed it. I'd given him forms that he was familiar with. He can change into a fox, but I'm using the stats for a jackal. There's actually no stats for a fox. And he could change into a constrictor snake, an ox, a panther, and a wolf. Why would you change into an ox? Who knows? But he can. These are the animals that he knows well enough to be able to change into. But he's fought hyenas now, not for very long, but he's fought them. He saw the way they moved. He saw the way they attacked. So I figured that's enough that he could potentially change into a hyena. So anyway, so he's going to change into a wolf and then try and sneak up. And when he changes, he can stay in that form for up to an hour. So and that'll also give him an extra hit point reserve. So he's going to use one of his wild shapes, and he is going to change form. And I've actually prepared this, so I am going to, if that has worked. I don't know. It's done that way. And I'm going to, it loses the name, unfortunately, whenever I do this. Um, I'm going to change this, make this Vint Wolf. I'm going to move Vint off to the side. So he's just off the top. That's not where he is. Um, and he is now in wolf form. Um, so he turns into a wolf. Now I'm going to roll his hit points, but I'm not going to let him roll under average. So um, with monsters, I've been giving them average hit points. For our heroes, they get maximum hit points. I don't want this to be a story where other heroes die. That's not fun to me. And as I said, this is about fun. I want the monsters to mostly lose, but not, it's not going to be a guaranteed. But when he changes into a wolf form, he's either going to have average or better. So if I roll under average, he's going to get the average hit points. So I roll. He gets above average. I rolled quite well. He gets 16 hit points as a wolf. So he has 16 hit points as a wolf. And this means I can track his health separately, but in different tokens. So that's cool. Okay, so so he changes into a wolf, and did I? No, what I should have done is I should have done it this way. So he has 16, and he is going to stealth up and try and figure out what's going on. Now, he's got quite a movement speed, but he's going to move fairly slowly, and I'm going to make a stealth roll for him. So, as a wolf, he gets. Now, this is an interesting question. I've not played a druid in this edition before, so I'm going to ask, how does druid work for skills and stuff? So, your game statistics are replaced by statistics of the beast. You retain your alignment, personality, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. You also retain all of your skills and saving throw proficiencies, in addition to gaining those of the creature. So he gains the stealth of the creature. And I believe his dexterity. Oh, yeah. So he gains the stealth of the creature. So he now has the stealth of a wolf, but the perception is his own. So he has more perception. So his perception is up here at +3, which is more than a wolf, but he has the stealth of the wolf. So he's going to make a stealth check as a wolf. And he rolls pretty good. 14 is his total. And he's going to move. Wolf can move very quickly, but he's going to move like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's going to move to there, which he can do fairly easily. That's not a huge move for him. And like that's only a single move. And then he is going to. Is there anything he wants to do? Like, I, he's done no, he's done the hide. So he's trying to hide and sort of. There's no nothing active to hide behind, but he's sort of staying low to the ground and he's moving slow. And he's also trying to be sort of sniffing everything. So he's going to make an active. Oh, he's used the action to change shape, but I'm not in round by round. So he's also like every time he moves, he's going to make a sniffing check and to see if he can figure out. So he's going to make a perception check, which he absolutely fails. So he's not aware. He's aware that like there's definitely light flickering in there, but he does not know anymore. Meanwhile, in the distance, Romina is going to try and just casually move behind this tree, and she's also going to make a stealth check, which she does badly at, but she's not aware that she's done. Oh, maybe she is with that one. Is she aware she's done that badly? Yeah, she really is. So she's going to try and hide again a bit later. But at the moment, it's like, oh my lord, she's sort of moving behind the tree and stuff, and she puts down the equipment and the stuff they're carrying. And remember, they're carrying some extra longbows and stuff, which they're sort of bound together with some twine and stuff and everything. So she casually puts those down and everything. And then as she's putting those down and she's moving to hide and like we'll leave those behind and come back to them later. I'm making this up. then that falls to the ground with a clatter, and it's like, oh god. Vint is like, and this is why Vint doesn't notice anything. Um, so from inside the cabin, is the guy actually paying attention? And I think it's unlikely. So I'm literally just going to roll for how much attention is he paying. Yeah, he's not paying any attention at all. He's not expecting any threats from outside. So he's going to make a perception check with disadvantage to notice something. Yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't notice anything at all at this point. So um, at this point, I'm going to start with Romina making another check. She does better, but not great. So she picks things. She like lays them down and so puts some leaves and stuff, some wet leaves and or whatever's around, puts the bows under some sticks and stuff, but she's not being quiet, but she's not making any active noise. It's like someone who was looking over there would see her, but someone may not notice her from a distance. Vint is going to make another. Oh no, Vint was pretty stealthy, but he's going to move up. One, two, three, four. I don't like. Now he's going to move up to basically here, and there's a lot of gaps in there. Now, I can't remember which stealth roll he rolled, and this is why I'm not going to rewind the video and check. And this is why, but he was a bit stealthy. So when he's actively moving towards a creature, and then he's going to try and hide when he gets here, and I think that's his action. So, and he does really well at that, like really, really well. So he's hidden pretty well, sort of here where he can possibly try and look through some holes in the wall and everything. Um, now I'm going to make a perception check for him, but he's basically going to stay. Actually, he could easily have moved up here, so he's literally moved up close, and he's hidden again with the. You got to zoom right in. So he's moved up really close. I'm going to put him right up against the wall, and he's hidden really well. And he's going to try and see what can I see through the walls and everything, and he actually can see quite a lot. So in there, he can see that there is a big gnoll. Like obviously, it's a bit different to the other one. Now, this gnoll is he ready for battle? Now that's an interesting question. I would say not normally, um, but there's the concept in games of you don't want to start your fight with everyone at a penalty. So I'm going to say that while he's not strapped into his armor and everything, he's sort of got it sort of draped but not fastened because he's wearing better armor. So that's going to mean that he's not getting the full benefit of the armor, which is going to make him slightly easier to hit. Which might be good for them because this guy's pretty hard to hit. Um, so um, so he's a little bit easier to hit, but that's all. Now, where are the doors in this thing? I'm just going to draw some normal doors into a cottage. So there's going to be one at the front and one at the back. I'm going to draw them in, let's use yellow. I just want to be distinctive. So there's literally a door here and there's a door in the center at the back. Now, yeah, that's good enough. Okay, so Vince sees this guy and he's sort of lambering around. Now, all of the interior walls have sort of collapsed and stuff. They're still there, but you could break through them. He doesn't bother. He's using the doors and stuff that were in there. This may have been broken into two rooms. That could have been what the line is. But he's sort of just nestled in an area. He's sitting down and he's sort of gnawing on like some meat or something. Is he actively doing, or is he kind of resting? That's actually a good question. So, what's his level of activity? Is what I should roll. His level of activity is pretty low, so he's possibly like sitting there, like again the fire. He's possibly got a pot of something over the fire. So he's just sitting there waiting for his meal to cook. Does Vince stay there, or does he try and find out more? And can he try and signal Romina? So he turns to Romina and tries to sort of hold up one paw to try and signal that sort of there's only one. He just goes and see if Romina gets it. Does Romina see him? Yeah, Romina sees him. Does she get the message? Now, I'm going to make an insight check for this because they've not communicated this way before. Now, insight, I believe, is wisdom, but it could be. Actually, I'm going to call this intelligence. I'm not sure what the skill is supposed to be, but is she smart enough to understand? Insight is wisdom, but I'm actually going to call this one intelligence, like it's a bit of nature and everything. So, yeah, I'm going to call this an intelligence check, which she doesn't have much of. Wisdom would be the same. So, she actually rolls pretty well. So, he goes, and she turns around and goes, and he nods his big head. So they're at a bit of a distance. Their eyesight's good and everything, but they can see each other enough that she's been able to get the impression that there's just one. So she sort of, you know, buckles on her armor and everything and gets her weapons ready. And it's like, and he shakes his head. So he's going to investigate some more. So what he's going to do is he's going to walk around. Oops, I'm in the wrong mode. He's going to walk around, almost like Sudoku. I'm in the wrong mode. He's going to walk around the back of the house as a wolf, moving really, really quietly, and see if he can see what's going on around the back. So this will be another stealth check. So let's roll the stealth for him. He rolls really badly this time. So as he's walking around the back, there's some loose wood and stuff. So he's sort of trying to stay crouched down. And he's good as a wolf, but he's not great as a wolf. It's not his normal form. So he's trying to scratch down and move on all fours, staying close to the ground and everything. And there's sort of a loose paling attached to the back of the cottage. And as he's moving past one of them, he knocks it and it comes loose and it falls to the ground with a clatter. And the question is, does the gnoll notice this and does he spin around and look? Actually, it's like, again, sort of thing. He doesn't notice at all. So Vint gets around to where the grave is. And as he gets to the grave, I'm not rolling for this at all. As I said, I've had a story. He notices that the grave has been dug up. And it's been dug up in a way that it's obviously been done by something with its hands. Like it hasn't been dug up with a shovel. And there's bones. The bones of the person who was dug up here have been. This grave is not to scale. I mean, as I said, it's kind of this little thing. I don't. This was maybe a garden patch or something. I don't know. It's an area beside the house, but the grave has been dug up and some of the bones were there and everything. There's like little bits of tatters of cloth and everything in here, but he can see and he can smell because he's a wolf. That actually, I'm going to give him a perception check on this, but he's definitely got a good chance on it. No, he doesn't smell too much because it's been raining and everything, but he can see that these bones have been chewed on and they've just left scattered. And he absolutely knows that these are effectively humanoid bones. So the grave has been dug up and the bones have been chewed on. It's like this is terrible from a perspective of the desecration of a grave. And it's like, okay, and this has happened recently, but not very recently. So Kerwin would be devastated to find this out. Okay, so um, the question now is, what are they going to do? Is he going to stay in wolf form and try to call Romina over? So how would he do that? They don't have signals or anything. They haven't had time to work that out. Eventually, I believe that characters who travel together will just get a form of like signals where they can communicate with each other via hand signals and stuff. It's what comes when you live with people. If you've ever lived with someone for an extended period of time, almost with a look, you can communicate meaning. And you get to be able to read each other pretty well. This is going to happen between Romina and Vint pretty quickly. But when he's in wolf form, which he's never done before, those signals are gone. So he's sort of going to turn and try and signal over with his head. Does Romina see this? Yes. Does she get the message? Yes. So Romina is going to try and sort of stealth up. So she's going to try and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So she's going to actually instead try and hug the wall. This is twilight, so she's doing okay. So she's going to try and hug the wall, and basically she can't make it to the next tree, but she's going to try and basically stealth along the wall and see if she can make it. So she'll make a stealth check, which she does terribly at. Now she's left a lot of the heavy stuff and everything back at the tree. So all she's got is her weapons and herself. She's not worried about them being stolen. Um, but and neither am I. From a game perspective, unless that's part of the story, that's not fun. So she's basically stealthing up, and she doesn't do very well. So I'm going to give the Gnoll Pack Lord. So yeah, it's like the rain and everything means that there is an advantage. So there's obviously something going on, but the Null Pack Lord is it's raining and this place is like creaky and there's wind and everything. So she's not close enough to get anything yet. The rolls were he didn't roll that well either. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This time she's able to get sort of to behind this tree. I'll roll again. She rolls really well. He's got no chance. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm only giving her single moves rather than doubles because she's trying to do it stealthily in the rain. Again, she rolls really well. So now she's literally, this is the one that's going to matter the most. No, cancel. Oh, apparently you can just double click to bring that up. That's useful to know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is going to need to be a good roll. Vint has kind of moved really slowly to about here. So, he's done that without provoking anything. She rolls okay, but there's starting to be movement fairly close by. So I'm going to give the Null Pack Lord just a normal stealth roll against what she did, perception roll against what she did. And his perception is not good enough. It's really not. So he doesn't make that. So they're able to sort of get to here without any problem. And I'm going to keep making stealth rolls. I know that the D&D system says that you don't keep doing stealth rolls every round. It's a stealth roll, but I literally, at some point, this is all going to go to hell. And he's a little bit on alert and everything, and they're not used to this. If they were rogues or anything, it literally would be one roll to make up. Vint isn't making stealth rolls anymore as long as he's not doing any active movement, but she's doing active movement out in the open. And she gets up to him, and I'm going to say she can get there, no problem. And it's like, so where are we going? And the whispering is fine. It's like something to fight. It's like, so where are we going? It's like, and he's having to think about that. It's like there was a back door that was closed, there was an open door that was closed. Was one of those doors like open enough that it could, I mean, they could both just be kicked in pretty easily. But did he see anything weird about any of them? So was there a problem with the front door? No. Or maybe. Was there a problem with the back door? No. So the front door is the one, the back door looks like it had actually been sort of fortified in some way. So it's like, so it's not used very often and everything, possibly because he doesn't want to be ambushed from two directions. So it's like he sort of indicates the front door. So they're going to go around to the front door in order to do this. And I'm going to make a single stealth check for both of them to see whether they can get up to the front door. And they both roll terribly. So let me just confirm their stats again. So Vint is, who doesn't have stealth, rolled 5. Romina, who doesn't have stealth, rolled 9. So that is terrible. But these are opposed checks. So I'm just going to put in the journal here. Vint turns into a wolf and scouts the area, finding a single large gnoll inside, and he also finds the grave, which has been dug up, apparently by something using its hands or claws. And the bones, I'm not sure if I mentioned this was part of the story, the bones have been chewed on. So it's like Romina sneaks up and they prepare to smash through the front door. Okay. Now, while they're here, just as they're about to smash up, I'm going to have them make perception checks for something else, which is part of the story. Um, Dropped a die, but it fortunately landed somewhere I could reach it. And see. It's unlikely. So Vint gets sort of the hairs along his body. Remember, he's normally hairless, like completely hairless. Along his body, sorts of starts to prickle, and he looks around, and his ears perk up, and there's this rumble in his throat, which isn't enough to break his stealth check, which might be why he rolled so badly. And I was like, "Whoa!" And Rami's like, "What?" And he can't. He looks around. It's like, but he can't tell what's going on. And they prepare to sneak up. So they sneak up and roll really, really badly. As I said, I think it was like a 5 and something. So I'm going to make a perception check for the Pack Lord. He rolls terribly as well, but well enough that he's aware of the situation. So Romina gets up to the door. So let's zoom in on the house. Just making sure the map. Yeah, I can't zoom in that far, or it's going to disappear off the screen. So Romina, I wish there was something I could do. What is that? Oh, that's the door. I don't want to change the door. I wish there was something I could do to have this without the pop-up coming over that as easily. It's a tad annoying that. And Vint comes up as well, and they get to there, and it's when Romina has gotten to there that he's like, "Huh!" And as they're preparing to kick in the door, he's aware of it. Now, does this give him enough time for him to like buckle on his armor and everything? Because he's a hardened combat veteran. I'm thinking maybe. So I'm going to just give him a flat out yes no roll. No. So he's still going to have just a 1 point armor penalty through the whole fight. Now, is there a way I can zoom in and still scroll over so that this is all visible to everyone? Not really. So I might just do that. Sorry, if I've done this in the past where stuff has been off the map, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is just a problem with the system where it assumes that everyone can see the whole screen. And I don't want to move my camera because if I move my camera, repositioning it can be a nightmare. It's what I might do for future is I may have a second camera set up that I can toggle between the two. That might be the way for me to do it. I'm learning this. So anyway, I'm going to move this without thinking, aren't I? So I'm going to actually zoom out and keep it there. That's fine. I can zoom in a little further. I'm going to keep it there. That'll be fine. Okay. And then I can move it up where I can see everything because this will be important. Okay, so this is the state of play. He's got a lot of health. They've got a little bit. Vint is in wolf form. I'm going to, oops, didn't mean to do that. What I meant to do is go up and I'll grab Vint's token so it's nearby. And he's buckling up and picking up his weapons as Romina kicks in the door, and we will do initiative. The Gnoll Pack Lord is wearing his armor, but it is not fully strapped on, so he has a -1 AC penalty, or yeah, penalty. He doesn't have a -1 AC. That would be terrible. This is not first edition. So yes, we now do initiative, and basically the kicking in the door will be the surprise, and then we're going to go into a normal round. So initiative. So we know that our heroes are both at +2. Actually, the wolf might be better. Nope, +2. So cool. Our heroes are +2. So Vint is terrible. So we have Romina at 13. Romina at 13. We have Vint at 5. And then I have to roll for the gnoll. Roll for the gnoll. Roll for the gnoll. And he's the same. So he is less than Romina, but more than Vint. So Gnoll Pack Lord is on 10. Okay, so this is the situation as the fight starts. And they're going to be fighting inside the house, which is not what I expected, but I expected him to hear them. But there you go. So he's actually got a big hunkin' weapon. So Romina kicks in the door, and then okay, what I want to do is I want to try. I'm going to select all. I am going to move absolutely everything to the map layer. Then I'm going to go to the map layer. I'm going to select the tokens and I'm going to move those to the token layer, and I'm going to go back to the token layer, and now hopefully all of the map elements are part of the map. Romina is now going to move in and she is going to attack the guy, and that's literally all she's going to do. So she is going to make her first attack. Um, her first attack misses terribly. Her second attack is actually pretty good, but doesn't do a lot of damage. She hits him for three. Was it 3 or 4? What's her bonus? +3 or +2? Plus, no, that's Vint. +3. So she hits for 4 points of damage. So he takes 4 points of damage and goes down to 45 hit points. So, a little bit off his health bar. So that's her done. She could try and move. So again, I'm not a big thing about positioning exactly in spaces because I find it boring. So yeah, don't zoom in too far. Sorry, I'm going to try and have this open so everyone can see. So yeah, she's positioned herself there. Now he attacks. Now he's carrying a huge weapon, and I think while it has reach, it can still attack close. Now, I've not used anything with reach because I haven't played a fighter in a very long time. So I'm going to look up the weapon tables because he's using a glaive. So the weapon tables are on, and I want to look up the rules for it. 146. And I could look this up online, but as I said, for some stuff where I'm not going to refer back over and over, reach. This weapon's add 5 feet to your reach when you attack at will. All it says is it adds 5 feet to your weapon. So he can attack close with it. So he's skilled enough that he can attack close. Heavy, reach, and two-handed. So it requires two hands to use, which is fine. And small creatures have disadvantage on attack rolls. This is not a small creature. This is a big creature. This guy he's not large, but he is big and bulky. Like, he is quite a big guy, a big wolf guy with sort of scars on his face and this big teethy mouth. So he has his glaive in hand, and while it would normally be hampered, there's enough holes in the wall, and he's skilled enough with it that he can normally be able to do a hit with it. So he's going to attack Romina with it. Not only that, he's going to attack her with it, and he's going to sort of pick it up, and he's going to lunge at her with it. So he's doing that. What's the damage? Terrible. Like, if he hits her, she is in a lot of trouble. So he attacks. He absolutely hits her, and far out, and hits her for 9 points of damage. So why is this? Hits her for 9 points of damage. So she goes to 14. Then sort of he stabs her with it, and she's like, "Oh my lord!" And then he pulls it back, swings it, and then comes down in an arcing sweep from above, attacking twice with the same weapon, which he absolutely hits with, doing another 7 points of damage. And she's lost half of her health in a single hit. Like, more than half her health in a single hit. It's like, what just happened? This could have been a mistake. At which point, the wolf turns and he runs in the door and leaps at the guy. So he sort of runs forward, he leaps into the air with like all teeth and claws coming at this thing, which is not what he expected at all. Now, there is no leap attack or anything, it's just a bite attack, but it's still a very, very cool visual. So it's that attack with this damage. So, oh, that's not too bad. So he attacks. He absolutely hits the guy, though. That's really cool. So he hits him. So as he leaps forward, all teeth and claws, and he sort of takes a bite into his arm, into his upper arm, and then he does what's that, +2? So that's 7 points of damage that he does to the guy, knocking him to 38. So he's barely scratched, really. But as he does that 7 points of damage, the guy must make a strength saving throw or fall to the ground. So that's cool. So he has to make a strength saving throw. Now, strength is his main stat, so this is actually quite likely. But he fails. So this guy is knocked prone. So as the wolf lunges into him, what am I going to use for prone? I don't know. I can't even see these symbols. These used to be bigger. I swear they used to be bigger. I don't know how this has changed. I used to be able to see these symbols. This is absolutely terrible. I I think the settings have changed, and the assumption is it could be based on screen size, and I've now got a higher resolution screen, and they're always the same size. But I really hate how I'm just going to have to use purple for prone. So purple means prone. I There are problems with this tool, and if I zoom in to make it bigger, which I'm assuming it would, no, it doesn't really make those bigger anyway. But that's now caused it to be kind of a bit off the map, so that's not ideal. Um, yeah, that's a real problem. I wish I could set the size of this somehow. Maybe I can, I just don't know how. But anyway, purple for prone. So he is now prone. I think the assumption is I just want to zoom in, but if I zoom in too far, this is going to stay at the right hand side of the screen, and that's going to cause me other problems. So, now he is prone. Now, while he is prone, that means that um, I'm going to make a roll. Normally he wouldn't drop his weapon, but let me look this up. No, that's not what I wanted. Prone. I'm using the book for some stuff, others. So he can only crawl. He has disadvantage on attack rolls. An attack roll against him has advantage if the attacker is within 5 feet. Otherwise, the attack roll has disadvantage. So Romina, yeah, what does Romina want to do? She's got no form of way of healing herself. Does she just want to push on? I think she's just going to push on because she knows that she has advantage, and I think she's next in the initiative. She is. So she's actually going to make 2 attacks, and both of them are going to have advantage. So she's going to push on with her attack and actually risk life and limb in order to try and hit this guy. So the first roll is a miss. Both rolls were terrible. The second roll is better. She actually hits with that one, but she doesn't do a lot of damage. She only does 5 points of damage. So she like does two things here. Now she can provoke what's called an attack of opportunity to step back, but he's going to have disadvantage. So he's on the ground with his glaive, and if she tries to step back, then she could have taken a disengage action to step away. Um, is she going to do that? But because she did, that's a full action. And if she's what she's done is she's attacked, and as she's attacking, she's going to step away. I think she's going to actually try and step away and draw this fight outside. So she's going to, and that first step she takes, he gets an attack of opportunity against her, which is a single melee attack. Um, I need to go back to where the gnoll is. I used the wrong page and I killed my list. He is going to make a single melee attack against her with the glaive and miss. So that's fine. So now she can keep moving. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So she's going to move. She's going to stay here so she can see him, but she's now outside. Um, so she's done everything: attack, bonus, attack, and move. Now it's his turn. He is on the ground. Does he want to stay on the ground, or does he want to? He's going to use his movement to stand up, and I think you can just do that because if you're prone, because standing up from prone. So has disadvantage on attack rolls. An attack roll against a creature has advantage. Stands up then by ending the condition. So it chooses to stand up, and I think that uses half its movement. So it stands up, And then it's going to move a bit towards the door, but it's going to stay within range of Vint. So it's not moving out of Vint's attack space, and then it's going to attack that wolf. Um, and Vint is going to continue facing it. Facing doesn't matter in this game. I just like to do it. And then it's going to swing its glaive at the wolf. Now, as an action, the scary thing about this guy is he does get to attack twice with each action, which is just terrifying. So he is going to glaive at the wolf and miss. That was a bad roll, and he's going to do it again and fumble. That doesn't mean anything. It's just I rolled a one. So he absolutely misses the wolf. So he's sort of got to his feet and everything. And now Vint is going to try and do it again, which is cool. So Vint is now basically doing the same thing. Um, and he's like, "Oh, why did Romina go away?" Actually, I should have remembered he would have had advantage on his attack roll, though he did hit last time, because he's got a thing called pack tactics, which means that if he's got an ally nearby, he can use the ally for sort of some extra benefit when attacking. But he's basically just going to try and bite at the leg of this big gnoll and see if he can bring it down, or not bring it down. Yeah, bring it down, because he's going to try and make it prone. He hits the gnoll. So that's awesome. And he hits it for fairly good damage as well. Hits it for 7 damage. So it goes down to, what's that, 26. So it's sort of down, not quite at half health. So they've done good damage to this thing. And it must make a DC 11 strength check. And this time it does. So it's like, get off my leg, you stupid. But it doesn't fall to the ground. Okay, so that is them. After Vint in the initiative is Romina. So Romina is actually going to sheathe her weapons and draw the bow, which is a bit damp and everything, but that's what and she's actually going to shoot through the door at the gnoll, but there's a line of sight there and everything. But she's only going to get a single attack with this. So the bonus action is to sort of put an arrow onto it and everything. So she's going to take a single shot with the arrow. And I don't think I've done this before, but I think I put the stats here. Yeah, so less damage, probably, or much less damage. I forgot to look up whether she gets a strength bonus. I don't think she does. So she absolutely hits him, though, and hits him for 4 points of damage. And now there's an arrow sticking out of this guy. So that's really cool. So and now we go to him. So he's, yeah, I believe after Romina is him. Yeah, the Gnoll Pack Lord. So he's now going to swing that glaive at Vint. So, I need D10s again. I'm losing my dice. Better than losing my marbles. He hits Vint with that one because Vint has got a Wolf's Armor class and hits Vint. The damage isn't great though. It's only for 4 hit points, so that takes Vint down to 12. But he does get to follow up again and do a second attack, which absolutely hits for another 4 hit points. So that is pretty bad. After the Gnoll Packlord in initiative order, and there is an initiative tracker in this, which I should be using, but I've been unable to find it. Oh, here we go, turn order. So what I should have done is I should be add custom item. So what I want to do is I want to add turn, add turn, add turn. And what it should have been is Romina 13, Gnoll Packlord is at 10, and Vint Wolf was at, I think it was 5. Was at 5. And I can't remember whose turn I just took. I think it was the Gnoll Packlord, wasn't it? Yes. So I can just cycle through, and can I make this bigger? Yes, but the font is still small. Why? Wow, why is this gotten so small? I remember this being bigger. I got to figure this out. There's the zoom level seems to only be on. Yeah, I swear this has changed since I last looked at it, but whatever. Anyway, I can read this. Hopefully, you can as well. So Vint now gets his bite attack. I think that's where I'm up to. If not, oh well, what a shame. And Vint absolutely misses. So he's like, and the Gnoll is like, not again. And he absolutely misses. So that's Vint, and we move on to Romina, who's going to take another shot with the bow. So Romina's dice are these ones. Um, Romina hits and actually does pretty good damage with it. She does 5 damage with the bow, so he drops to 17. At which point, um, uh, do, do, we now move on to the Pack Lord, who is going to make another 2 attacks at this wolf. So, yep, I need those. The first one hits because Vint is done and actually drops Vint down, and the Pack Lord is doing enough damage that he actually would knock him to -3. So it would do 11 points of damage. So what happens is this thing drops to the wolf drops to 0. Vint comes back into play in the same spot and takes 3 points of damage. So the damage that was over the top of the wolf is actually done to Vint. And sort of Vint's in this crouch, but he can stand up. And the Vint wolf is out of this fight. Um, and the Noel Packlord is like, what? But it isn't like phased enough by this. Like he's still battle hardened enough to know this is still the threat. Yeah, I should have taken away the purple for prone. So let's take that away. And he swings at Vint again, but misses this time. Like he's enough discombobulated that he's not going to. That he's going to. He's not going to hit Vint with the second attack. Um, and now Vint is back in his actual form. What is Vint going to do? And it's at the end of this round that something is going to happen. He is. Is he going to heal himself? He's not that wounded. He is. I don't think he wants to wild shape again. He could shillelagh the staff. I don't know that any of that is that useful to him. Um, I mean, he could try and move and cure Romina, but it's a touch spell and she's moved out of range. He is actually going to cast Shillelagh and then try and hit this guy, I think. So he sort of pulls his staff, like as he comes out of the crouch, he's got his staff in his hand and he runs his hands along it, and it again gets that tinge. And whereas previously it sort of got this weird glow, now all of the etched in symbols along it sort of glow blue, and you can see sort of the symbols of the fish and everything start to sort of move slightly. Like if you looked at it closely, it would almost appear as if they're swimming. And as he stands up and does this, he manages to get a swing up at the gnoll with his shillelagh. And we know that this is a good attack, which does not hit, not even close. So that's nothing good. And now a story beat happens. Rising out of the grave, um, angry as hell, but never having had the opportunity to deal with the big threat, which is the thing that had moved here and desecrated her grave. The wife of um, Kerwin rises. That's not done it. I have to grab the right thing. The wife of Kerwin, and I know I should give her a name, so I'm actually going to do that. So let's, for now, just call her wife, but this is a terrible thing to do. Um, so this is not her name. that is absolutely not her name. So I'm going to go to the book of names, or the table book, and I am going to generate a random name for her. So, um, so uh, after a few rounds, when the pack lord is weakened, name. Oops, I need to generate. So name. This is the name generation, which I will delete. Table 1. First one is Edoli. And the second one, because I grabbed two names and I mixed them together because that seems to work. Skylar, which is funny if you know I'm a Hamilton fan, spelled differently. So let's say, yeah, Adola. Adola is fine. Adola is a name. So Adola, the wife of Kerwin, rises out of the grave as a haunted spirit awakened by the desecration of her grave. And she is pissed, and she's wanted for ages to deal with the threat of. So let's change this. Actually, I can double click on this, can't I? So it's Idola, Edolya. I think that's it. And she is actually, and I'm going to roll this, and she could be 10. She actually has the stats of a particular form of evil creature, but she's not actually evil to the party members. She's actually wanting, all she cares about is taking down the Pack Lord, and she's been waiting for an opportunity to do so, and it's never been weak enough. And she's going to enter the fight on a particular initiative. Does she have an initiative bonus? She does not. So it's just a wow. Okay. So goes down, and then I add turn, and I think I can move her to the top. She goes next. So unaware of the others, she rises out of the ground. And what's her move? Oh, of course, she's got a huge movement speed, and she can move through objects. Yep. So awesome, huh? So what she does is she flies up and basically starts coming through the wall at this point and positions herself next to the pack lord. And it's like right, and she's like moving towards, and she's like, her face as she comes through the wall is this horrible thing of vengeance and terror, and she's obviously human. And as she comes up towards them, and if I think I can zoom in maybe without you losing um, the look of everything. I wish I could position this better. I can't. The problem is I can't move it across. I think this is okay. So she moves, comes forward, and sort of, but she's fixated on the gnoll, who's possibly seen signs of her before and heard whispers and everything, but is like, she's never known like this thing is more powerful than she is, and that if she was if she dealt with this on her own, that her spirit could possibly wander forever. And now the opportunity has arisen. So she comes forward, and she absolutely like reaches in and she tries to, as her hands come forward, these tendrils of darkness come out of her hand and she reaches into the gnoll, trying to suck his life out of him. Ew. So she does what's called a life drain. Um, yep, and she actually misses. Oops. So she reaches out and it's like he's sort of seen signs of her before and everything. And he's like, he manages to avoid her attack, but he's now like, what is the biggest threat? Because he's kind of aware of her, has been aware of her before. And it's like, this is now not going well. So that's her. Now it's Romina's attack. Now, does Romina want to come back in? I think Romina's happy. Romina is happy just shooting her bow. Yeah, I have a bow. You have my bow. Um, she's not very good with it. She's terrible with it, but she draws another arrow and piffs it through the door. It's like, okay. Um, and then we move on to the Pack Lord. Now, the Pack Lord has two threats. Now, there's this guy here who just turned into a wolf. And then there's this spirit who's been bothering me the whole time. I think he's more than likely to try and attack the spirit, but I'm going to make it a roll. He's actually going for the spirit. So he turns and he tries to hit at Idola, who is actually not that hard to hit. So he's going to try and hit her with um, with his glaive, and that's the wrong damage. This is the right damage. Ooh, and he's absolutely going to. And he's going to do 7 points of damage to her. So she's very unhappy. And he's going to follow up and do that up. Except she takes half damage, I believe. Condition immunities. Damage resistances. Bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. So she takes half damage. So she only takes 3. So she is only at 22. His follow-up attack also hits, and he does even more damage. So he would have done 13, but he only does 6. So she goes down to 16 health. So he's like hitting her with the glaive, and it's moving through her, and you can see that the mist that she's made up of is sort of splitting around it and reforming, and you can see it doesn't reform quickly around it and everything, and she's actually sort of the mist is in the wrong shape and her spirit is wounded by it, but the glaive is passing through and it's throwing him off balance, and she's definitely not taking it the full strength of what she would. And now Vinter's here and he's like, I don't know what just happened, but this guy is the threat and this thing is ignoring us. And I'm going to attack the big obvious threat, and he misses. It's like this is what, what, and that's them. And she is fixated on, back to her turn. She is fixated on the gnoll, and she reaches out again to try and to drain his life. So I'm actually needing more dice. So I am going to grab my. This is the dice tray I set up back in 1989, I think it was, when I was playing D&D very regularly. And I've been using it on and off ever since. But I got new dice for this one, but I need extra dice for this attack if I hit. So she reaches out and tries to suck the life out of the gnoll again. And this time she hits, and she hits for 10 points of damage. And this is necrotic damage, so this coldness fills through him as she sucks the life out of him. Not only that, he has to make a constitution saving throw, or his hit point maximum is going to go down by that much. Ew. So he wouldn't be able to heal up until he finishes a long rest. So even if someone came and healed him, that wouldn't work. So he needs to make that's not going to happen. So it really doesn't matter. But, apart from the fear factor on him. So what's his constitution saving throw? Not great, but he makes it. So it doesn't actually do it. So she tries to drain his life out of him, and it doesn't quite work. But he's realizing this is going badly, and she's the big threat because she just she what I'm not very. I'm not wording well today. So now Romina is like, I'm better with my swords, but this is. I'm just going to shoot him with an arrow. Arrows is good. I like arrows. Arrows has been fine. That might actually hit. Romina with the arrow is, yeah, +4. That will hit him, but it only does 2 points of damage. So she does 2 points of damage to him. Look, I'm helping. Um, and that's Romina's turn. We now go back to him. He is almost certainly going to fixate on her. Like, there's a chance he'll attack Vint because Vint is still a threat, but she's the big one. No, absolutely, he is going for her. So he is going to put everything he can into trying to take her down. The first attack hits, and it hits her for a terrible 12 points of damage, which does 6 to her. It's like my biggest hit, and it's still just passes through. And he's going to follow up and try and do that again, and he hits her again for 12 points of damage, which only does 6. So this is the most effective round that he could possibly have versus her. And it's like she is absolutely worried at that. And now we go on. Vint is not a wolf anymore, but whatever. We now go on to Vint. So I could possibly change this. Can I change this? It doesn't matter. I should have made it Vint in whatever form he's in. Doesn't matter. So Vint, it's now Vint's turn. Now Vint is absolutely wanting to take him down. He has his shillelagh. He's good at this. He can club this guy to death and doesn't. Okay, now Adola doesn't want her spirit to die, and it absolutely could at this point. So she's going to take the disengage action, which means she's not going to attack. All she's doing is making sure that she doesn't get attacked when she moves away, and she floats away without provoking an attack of opportunity. And she floats 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, she floats back to her grave. So literally, she floats this way, and she's basically back over here, which is a long way away for any of them, but not far for her. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's nothing for her because spirits can move a long way, I think. Yeah, fly 50 feet. So she's fine. She could go that far. And it's like, and he's like, and all of a sudden now he realizes that he's got this to deal with. Now we're back at Romina, who's like, okay, ally just left. Now he looks terrible, but it's like, do I go in and help finish? She drops the the bow in the ground, and she steps forward and she draws her sword. She's not. She steps forward as she's moving, and she's going to get the 2 attacks. It's like I'm going to try and do this. Just making sure you can still see the action. You can, and you couldn't for a minute there. Sorry about that. And she's going to make her 2 sword attacks because this is what she's good at. And the first one absolutely misses. She's not very good at it all. The second one, however, is a critical, absolute crit. So she's going to do 7 points of damage, which is enough to drop the Gnoll Pack Lord and kill him dead. And it's like, what was that? Ow! And Vint sort of immediately is like, I don't know, but he steps forward and he uses a healing spell on her. So Vint is going to cast a Cure Wounds. And I'm just confirming again because I am out of practice. I will get better at this. All evidence to the contrary. Though with years of playing different things, I always have to look things up. This is going to be a D8 plus 3 hit points that she gets back. That is a D8. She gets back 5 hit points. It's like, great. It's like, I'm on 12. So she's back at 5 hit points. The spirit is probably not going to need those dice anymore. If I do need to attack with her again, I can pull things out. So, it's like, what was that? It's like, I don't know. Now, this is where the gnoll has been. All of the gnolls in the area have been bringing all of the stuff to him, and it's like, well, do we check his stuff? Do we want to stay here? What do we want to do? It's like, surely we want to go check on that thing. It's like, maybe. I mean, that was what was that? Um, uh, was was that Kerwin's wife? It's like, could have been. It's like, so outside I saw the grave. This Vint. It's like, outside I saw the grave, and it had been dug up by something with claws, possibly one of these gnolls, and the bones had been chewed on. So it's possibly they were chewing on her bones. Maybe she needs to be put back to rest. It's a fairly common thing. And he's a druid, so he understands sort of resting rites and all of that sort of stuff. It's like, maybe, and we do have to bury the ring at her grave. Like, hmm, this is very strange. And hmm, and they they go outside, and they approach the grave, and the spirit is still sort of floating above the grave. And as they approach, she's just there, and she's not hostile. Her face is calm, and she's looking at the ground sorrowfully. And they approach, and I don't think she actually has any form of communication. I'm going to use. I'm going to say she doesn't. I don't even care what this allows. And she's looking at it, and sort of she's under the shadow of sits in the west. So, but she's in mostly shadow now. It was twilight and it's rain, but occasionally there's glints of light, and where there's glints of light, they can see that she sort of disappears. So as the setting sun sort of bounces off, sort of um, through and gets through the rain and everything, she's only where there's darkness. So she's obviously uncomfortable in the light, and and they approach, and she's just looking sorrowfully at the ground. And it's like, what do we do? Do we present her with the ring? And Romina is like, maybe, and she goes through her stuff. I'd left. No, she wouldn't have left the ring. The ring was too late. So she goes through and pulls it out of a pouch and holds it out. At which point the spirit sort of looks forward. It's like, and makes eye contact and smiles, but then looks at the ground sorrowfully. Can they figure out what needs to be done? I think it's very likely they can, but I'm going to make insight rolls for each of them with advantage. Romina has no clue. Vint rolls a 20. Vint is like, yes, we need to rebury her bones. And he does a check, and he's going to make some sort of healing check to see if he can determine whether all the bones are here or not. So does he have, yeah, medicine? He's going to make a medicine check to see if all the bones are here. And he does make a good check and determines that there are some missing bones, and he goes and he checks the area, and can he find them is another interesting question. This will be a perception check, and yeah, he can. So he finds a couple of the bones nearby, so he scouts the area, and he finds some of them have been scattered around the area, and he even finds one inside the house that's like being used as a tool. And he gathers all the bones together, and they're obviously from the same person. They're of the same age, same color, sort of, so they've been out about the same amount of time. And he gathers them all together, and he sort of tries to he not digs up, but he opens up the grave so that it's a you know, obviously trying to do it in a meaningful way. And he's been taught the proper rites and everything of burial as part of a druid. And you know, everything returns to the ground and returns to nature, and you know, some things get burned and some things get buried. He understands some of these things, and he sort of carefully opens it, like not just digging, but he opens up the grave, and he places the bones not back in their shape, but he places the bones respectfully. And then he turns to Romina, and Romina is there with the ring. And while Romina has been standing there holding the ring out, the spirit has been coming out and has been laying her hand on top of Romina's to touch the ring without putting her hand into Romina's. And Romina can feel this horrible chill, but it's not. Yeah, but she's holding her hand there, and the spirit is obviously being careful, because obviously there's something going on with, you know, the spirit is aware that her touch could be harmful to Romina and doesn't want to do that. Like, it's obvious she's not hostile, and just trying to touch the ring. And Romina takes it out and sort of places it on a stone or something, and the spirit is there running her hands over it, and she can't pick it up or do anything like that. But she sort of tries to gather it in her hands and can't do it. But she's like touching it, and she's sort of putting her finger through it as if she could, but of course nothing is actually happening. She can't move the ring, and she's just focusing on that. And then after the Vint has laid the bones to rest, um, they take the ring and they place it in the grave, and the spirit turns to them and nods, and then looks at Vint and holds out her hands as if like this. And Vint is like, I don't understand. And she points at him and holds out her hands. And it's like, I'm not sure what you're asking. And she the she does this sort of motion and points and holds out her hands. And makes an insight check, and he holds up the staff. This, she nods, and he comes forward and he holds out the staff, and she just it keeps holding out her hands, and he lowers the staff into her hands, and as he does so, it doesn't pass through her hands, it stops in her hands, and as it touches her hands, all of the sigils in the staff start glowing and moving, a bit like when he cast the shillelagh on it, which is long gone by now, but now they are glowing a bright color, and you can see the symbols and everything swimming up and down the staff. And it was like, this was yours? And she nods. And it's like, should we leave this with you? And she moves her hand to the center to hold it and places the other one on her heart. And she shakes her head and holds it out to him. And he takes it off her, and as he's taking it off her, and she really realizes this has been gifted to her, and he takes it, he feels sort of this weird power running through the staff. And as that happens, she reaches out and she puts her hand into his forehead, at which point there's this horrible pain that runs through Vint. And he's actually like going to suffer the life drain attack, and he's not going to be able to resist it. So he's actually taking the damage. So he takes 8 points of damage. So he actually takes a lot of damage here. He takes 8 points of damage and has to make the Constitution saving throw, which is possible he could make. Con +2. It's not one of his saving throws, so he makes, so he doesn't get the permanent drain. He falls to the ground with the staff in his hands, but he's aware as he sort of shakes clear, as this has been drained out of him, that she was regretful about doing this. As he basically looks up and says, "What?" And she looks mournfully at him, as if to say that I wish I didn't have to do that. But as his head clears, it's like he understands what more of this staff, and this staff is now his. She's given it to him, and what she's done is she's passed it on, and this staff is now something he can attune to, and is going to be something that he has earned and is being gifted to him. He walks over. I can't remember if I've already done this, but I'm going to do it now. He walks over, picks up the ring, walks up, places it in the grave, and he turns to Romina and says, I have to do this. And he covers the grave back up. And as he's covering the grave back up, she seeps into the ground and is gone. So, at which point, I'm going to end this session. So, I knew this was going to be a hard fight, versus just one guy. And when I'd had the idea for what the staff might be, and actually this early on in their adventuring career, introducing Vint, like there was this staff of aquatic fishing rod thing, and I had an idea for turning it into an aquatic themed staff for something that Vint could carry and earn, while I had this thing of he's visiting his wife's grave, there's been undead stuff going on, tying all that together into a story. Like, she's not the cause of all the undead stuff, I don't think, but as definitely a victim of it, and actually having it that the fight could be possible because there's this unexpected undead ally that was the original owner of the staff and then could hand it over if they help the spirit deal with the thing that had desecrated her grave. I thought that would be a lot of fun. And while I didn't know how the fight was going to go, and this is kind of telling a story, I didn't know who was going to get wounded. I didn't know how they were going to go with their scouting. I didn't know at which point she was going to come out. I didn't even know really at which point how this was going to play out. I just had the idea of it was originally her staff, and if they did okay, then she'd gift it to them. That was all I knew, and I've come up with some ideas for what the staff might be able to do as he learns more about it. The rest of it, I made it up as I went along. Hopefully you enjoyed that one. This has been for me, this has been a lesson in me coming in with ideas and exploring them as I play. And this is definitely what I think I want to do more of. Even to the point where sometimes I may sort of pre-generate some encounters and stuff in order to have them be a bit more meaningful, and pre-generate some of the stories and even have an idea of which way the quests are going to go. And that way, if anyone's watching, you'll get to experience them for new. I may not, but I like this. One of the things that I used to do with D&D is I often used to pull out modules that friends and I would pull out modules we'd played before where we used to enjoy the encounters and stuff, and we would just play them because it's like it didn't matter that we knew what was coming. We wanted to have fun. How many times do people replay video games and stuff because they like going through the thing, going through the story, or going through the combats or anything? If you've ever done that before, that's kind of what I'm doing, except I've made the encounter and I've figured out the story, but I don't know how it's going to play out. I didn't know Romina was going to get hit that hard and retreat and use her bow. I didn't know Vint was going to spend most of it in wolf form. I didn't know how all of that was going to go out. So I'm exploring the ideas using the dice and the mechanics. I really enjoyed that one. I hope you did too, for people who are watching. As I said, at the moment, I know there's maybe 3 or 4 people watching these videos, but it's possible in 6 months' time that this will have gotten an audience, and there may be, if I'm lucky, hundreds of people watching this video months down the track. Who knows? It's the internet. Weird things can happen. Thank you everyone for watching. I really do hope people are enjoying it. If you want to talk to me about any of the concepts or anything I'm doing, many of the videos on my channel and everything have ways that you can reach out to me on Discord or other stuff. I'm happy to talk to people. And as always, good luck with your adventuring.